Archimandrite Seraphim has been a monastic for decades. In 2015, he was made abbot of Holy Cross Monastery in Wayne, West Virginia, which has seen incredible growth over the past few years. So much so that they have outgrown their church. So they're currently running a capital campaign to raise money for a new church. If you're able to help, please find the link below this video to their website where you can contribute to this worthy cause. I was recently up at the monastery, and Abbot Seraphim kindly carved out some time out of his very busy schedule to conduct this interview. So I'm really grateful to him for the time he gave me, and I hope you will enjoy this episode from my interview with Abbot Seraphim.
Well, I would think that the hardest thing for most novices is dedication, commitment. In the world that they grew up in, they're constantly faced with multiple choices, and they've lived that way their whole life. And monasticism they just see as one of many choices that doesn't take a full commitment. And that's what's really difficult for them. Because of that, we've sort of created a 6-month candidate program, which allows them to live in the monastery for 6 months, wearing secular clothes, but following a monastic schedule. And during that time, they can leave anytime they want to, or we can ask them to leave if we think it's inappropriate. But usually this is preceded by several visits to the monastery, several weeks long. So we gradually ease them into that. So at the end of the 6 months of this trial candidate period, they can continue on in that if they want to, or they can ask to be made a novice. Usually they ask to be made a novice because they begin to feel at home. It's important for them to realize that monks are just human beings, and that they're not angels walking on clouds, anything like that. And once they begin to feel at home and they get to know the brotherhood, in this particular monastery, there's a very strong emphasis on the brotherhood and supporting and encouraging one another. And so when they begin to feel at home in the brotherhood, then they're more likely to be able to be made a novice, ask to be made a novice, and begin their novitiate, which lasts for 3 years. And then at the end of that, they're made, if they petition, they're made a Rosafor monk, and they may stay in that position for months or years before they finally make vows and ask to be made a Mantia monk. That's the process that we follow. But even still, sometimes it's very, very hard for young men to make a commitment. We live in a society where even marriage itself is no longer what it used to be. Lots of people, men and women, just live together rather than making the commitment of marriage. And they're comfortable with that, and our society seems to be comfortable with that. And of course, this just lends for indecision and not being able to be stable in one place. I remember when I was a young fellow, my grandmother had told me that where we lived in Missouri, she had been a nurse, but she had to give up nursing because she wanted to get married. And I was very surprised, but nursing was considered a commitment. And you took care of the sick. That's what you did. There wasn't a religious order. That's what you did. And young women did this all over the place. She said when she was a girl, from the time you were a child, you began to think of what am I going to commit my life to? What noble cause? Where she lived in Missouri and Illinois, to be a teacher or to be a nurse meant not to marry, to give your whole life either to taking care of the sick are instructing children, and you wanted to do that. You wanted to. And you couldn't make the commitment of marriage and the commitment of nursing. She chose the commitment of marriage, but she really would like to have done both. Today, of course, she could have. But this sense of commitment is just not there with our young people today. It's not something they're looking for. It's something they're trying to avoid. And I think that's one of the biggest problems for young men coming to the monastery. The other one really is prayer. Young people today don't know how to pray. They don't know how to control their own minds. That's where the Jesus prayer comes in. It's so important. It helps them to regain control of their mind. They don't know anything about vigilance over their thoughts, and training their mind to focus on prayer and eliminate the distractions. It's a huge problem for young people today, huge problem. So each monk here in our monastery has his own prayer rule. Everyone has a different prayer rule. Some men can pray for hours and some men simply can't. A few minutes is all they can manage to do at various times of the day. But with God's help and living the life, it often begins to change as time goes by. If you begin to eliminate the distractions, television and computers and all of this, it makes it easier. We do have computers because we have an online business. That's how we support ourselves. We make incense and candles and sell books and icons and things through the internet. But only those monks directly involved in that and the priests have access to the internet. The other monks don't. So thank God they're free of that, and that helps them also. So those are probably the two most important things.
Hi again, hope you enjoyed this episode from my interview with Abbot Seraphim. Please subscribe to get notified when new videos become available. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider becoming a patron of this channel. There's a link to the patronage program below this video. Thanks so much for your support, and we'll see you soon.